Hello. Thank you so much for being here. I feel so blessed to be here with you today and to present on this important topic. If you don't know me, I'm Jessica Pozo. I'm a registered nurse and health coach at Wellness MD, and I work with women to build sustainable habits around nutrition, movement, sleep, and stress during perimenopause and menopause. And I do this in collaboration with Dr. Steyn in our physician-supervised Metabolic Reset Lifestyle Program. And one of the reasons I care so much about this work is because I keep meeting incredibly capable, disciplined women who tell me that they know what they need to do and that they just need to be better. They blame themselves, and that breaks my heart. So today, I hope to show you what is going on in perimenopause and menopause that is making weight loss harder, and that it's not a discipline problem. It's just that the rules of the game have changed. So I'd love to tell you a story of one of our lovely clients who we will refer to as Anna. So Anna is a 52-year-old woman who came to our clinic recently. She was frustrated that she couldn't lose weight despite what she felt were her best efforts. And she had truly given her best efforts. She had tried restrictive plans before, and she would lose the weight, but only to then gain it all back again once the plan had ended. And she told me something I hear all the time. She said, "I'm good all day, and then at night, I lose control." She would say, "I know exactly what I'm doing wrong, and I just can't stop myself." She blamed herself. But what she didn't realize is that this wasn't a discipline problem. Menopause had changed the rules, and her strategy needed to change too. All right, so if you're in this stage of life, these challenges are incredibly common. So weight gain, especially around the abdomen, poor sleep, more fatigue, stronger cravings. And maybe most frustrating of all is the feeling that the things that used to work are no longer working. And this just isn't perception. There's real physiology behind it, which I hope to show to you today. So during the menopause transition, women experience changes in their body composition. This includes increased abdominal fat and a decline in lean muscle mass. And at the same time, sleep disruption becomes more common and stress sensitivity increases, all of which impact metabolism, hunger, and energy. So what many women do, understandably, is try to eat less, be more strict, and push harder. But that approach only often makes things worse. And over time, it creates this cycle of effort, frustration, and self-blame. These symptoms are common, but they're not something women simply have to suffer through. So let me show you what's going on. So what's actually going on? So during perimenopause and menopause, several things start to shift in the body. Hormones like estrogen decline, and this is associated with increased insulin resistance, which means that the body is more likely to store fat, especially around the abdomen. At the same time, we start to lose muscle mass, and muscle is incredibly important for metabolism. It helps regulate blood sugar and burn energy. So when muscle goes down, metabolism becomes less efficient. On top of that, many women notice that their sleep becomes more disrupted and their stress levels feel higher. And poor sleep and higher stress can increase hunger signals and cravings. So when you put it all together, it's not surprising that weight loss feels harder. So now when we looked more closely, at Anna's habits, we noticed something really important. So in our program, we ask our clients to track their food, not from a stance of how much food do I have left today that I can eat in a calorie restriction mindset, but more so of a observation to see what foods that you're eating and how that impacts your hunger, your energy levels, your mood, etc. So when we were looking at her journal entries, we noticed that on the days when she skipped breakfast or her breakfast contained very little protein early in the day, those were the nights where her cravings were the strongest, and she likely ended up eating or drinking something where she otherwise would not have wanted to. And so this is a pattern that we see over and over again, especially in busy, high-achieving women. So the pattern is that they start the day with coffee, maybe something small. They're busy, they need to get to work, they're focused, they push through the day, and by the evening, it feels like everything unravels. So let's get into why this happens. So this isn't random. There's physiology behind it. When we don't eat earlier in the day, when we don't eat enough earlier in the day, especially protein, blood sugar becomes less stable. And by the evening, the body is trying to catch up on energy. At the same time, many women are running on stress hormones all day with the caffeine, cortisol from high-stress job, pushing through. And then by the end of the day, the brain is looking for quick energy and reward. And that's why our cravings tend to be for wine or chips or sweets, because they provide fast relief. I bet you don't find yourself craving for broccoli or salad after a long day of work. But what looks like a discipline problem is often just the body trying to recover from the day. And this is actually one of the reasons weight loss medications have become so popular. Not because people lack discipline, but because they reduce those intense hunger signals and cravings. But one thing we have to be really mindful of is using them without building the lifestyle habits that actually support long-term results. Because while medication can help quiet the food noise, it's the daily habits that determine whether those results will last. Okay, so here's our different strategy. So the takeaway here isn't that women need to be more disciplined. It's that the strategy needs to match what's happening in the body. All right. So once we understand what's happening, the next step is how do we translate this into real life? Because most women don't need more information. They already know they should eat better, move more, sleep more. The challenge is doing that consistently in a busy, stressful life. And that's where my coaching and my nursing comes in. So with this patient, instead of asking her to be more restrictive, we actually simplified things. So we focused on a few key changes. She started prioritizing protein earlier in the day, so she wasn't underfueled. We helped her build structured meals instead of long gaps followed by overeating. And we identified the pattern of evening cravings and reduced the triggers earlier in the day. We also addressed late night snacking, not just for calories' sake, but because it was affecting her sleep. Because sleep is a huge piece of weight regulation. And the most important part was helping her follow through. Not perfect routines, but consistent ones. Because consistency, not perfection, is what drives results. She was also started on a low dose of medication to help quiet the food noise, which made it easier to implement these changes. But the focus we always brought our attention back to was on building the habits that are going to support long-term results. At Wellness MD, we do take a whole person approach, combining medical care with lifestyle and behavior support. And my role as the nurse and coach is to help patients turn that into daily habits that actually last. So what changed for Anna? So we removed the pressure to be perfect. We focused on consistency. She started eating earlier, prioritizing protein, and structuring her meals. We reduced late night eating, which also improved her sleep. And she was supported with medication, which reduced the intensity of her cravings. And what we saw was powerful. Of course, she lost the weight, roughly at a rate of 1 to 2 pounds per week. Her cravings decreased, her energy improved, her sleep improved, and most importantly, she stopped feeling like she was failing. She now understood the things, like how she needed to structure her environment and her day so that she wasn't playing against this strong physiological response to get food quickly. And I remember her sharing that with me and understanding that now she understands what she needs to do versus just feeling like she needs to restrict and fight against this very strong urge. So just showing that when the strategy changed, everything changed. Okay. So if any part of this resonated with you, you're not alone. And this is something we help women with every day. Menopause isn't a discipline test. It's a transition that requires a different strategy, one that works with your body, not against it. If you're looking for support, our team at Wellness MD would be happy to help. And you can learn more or book a consultation at wellnessmdhealth.com. I have opened up my calendar this weekend for discovery calls regarding the physician-supervised Metabolic Reset Lifestyle Program. So that's where you can find out if you qualify for the program, how it works, and all of the details pertaining to it. So I'd love to hear from you. I'll post that link in the chat, and I look forward to meeting with you. Thank you so much for being here with me and for listening to this important topic.